There's probably only Dennis's wife and his family that know him better than me. In fact, I often think I'm part of Dennis's family, known him for that long. But there's a lot of things that it's easy to forget about. Dennis, he was the chair of the customer panel many years ago, when we used to meet up at Chaddiston. He's been the chair of the DACP for all these years in whatever name it's been called. He was involved with TPAS. He was involved with the TSA. He was the chair of the NFA. Where do we stop? In fact, when will it stop? Even though Dennis is stepping down from the board today, we know he'll stay involved, and I hope that just through the messages you hear from others, everyone will understand how valued he's been and how desperate we are to carry on working with him. Well over 20 years ago now, I was actually working at Sussex Circus Housing Office. Dennis was just one of the tenants that we were involved with, and he seemed like a good person to try and rope in with what was then called the customer panels. I lied to Dennis and said, Dennis, come along, it'll only be a couple of hours every 2 months. Fitting it in around his badminton, not a problem. As we all know, that was a lie, and Dennis has done probably a longer working week than most of us ever since.
Well, I've actually known Dennis since 1991. I became a councillor in 1991, and soon after I became vice chair of the then Housing Committee. And Dennis was always at the committee making very sensible suggestions in terms of how we could improve services to tenants, how we could do things better. And his contribution was always valued. He was highly regarded by all councillors and committee members. And he was totally dedicated, you could tell. He was thinking housing, he was breathing housing. And he was always coming forward with suggestions for improvement, how we could do things better, how we could make life easier for the tenants. And his contribution, as far as I'm concerned, has always been very valuable.
I had met Dennis actually before I came on the board once before. My initial impression was there was a tenant who was really interested in housing and actually doing a fantastic job and doing the best he possibly can to promote tenants nationally, locally, and also promoting Derby homes. And then when I came on the board, all those impressions were just reinforced, that they were there, he was there, he's somebody who's been there since the beginning of Derby Homes. I like to think of him actually as almost he is Mr. Derby Homes, that he's somebody, well, I did mention, so what are Dennis's interests? And really, Dennis's interests are Derby Homes and doing his best for tenants.
And went with one of my residents, one of my tenant residents, and we were both really blown away by Dennis. He stood up, told his story, such a unique person, but also so very selfless and so very caring about driving the sort of tenant movement forward and making sure tenants are heard, and so inspirational. So kind of come across him a number of times during my housing career and I've always felt the same.
I should think he was one of the first people involved in the customer panels when we started in late 91, 92, and he lived in the area where the panel was called Windy Ridge. And there were 33 of them in the end, after we set them all up. Dennis was involved from the beginning with his wife Arlene. He was always with Arlene. And he became, I think, chair very early on, along with a number of other chairs around the city who he hadn't met. He became more engaged with what we did when it became apparent he wasn't just interested in his own doorstep. He wasn't just interested in what was happening outside his front gate. He had a bigger vision, he had bigger interests. He wanted to know what was happening everywhere in housing.
Eamon McGoldrick, Managing Director of the National Federation of Almos. Dennis can be very proud of the contribution he made over many years to both the tenant movement and the Almo sector. When Dennis was chair of the NFA, it had 69 members and was delivering billions of pounds of decent homes funding. Dennis always spoke in an honest and forthright manner on any issues that affected Almos or council tenants. Having Dennis as a tenant chair of a major trade body like the NFA gave us a huge advantage when dealing with civil servants or politicians.
He doesn't hide his views, and sometimes he can put them very delicately and sometimes quite bluntly as the need arises. And his passion is to improve services for people, and if he thinks somebody is not playing their part properly or they could play their part better, he'll be blunt about it. So you could do this better and we could improve services.
He's always the one to, how can I say, get through the rhetoric and get to the point, the nub of the question that he wishes to ask. We're not allowed to say bullshit on camera, are we? But Dennis will cut through that quite incisively.
The other thing about Dennis, of course, is that he always was driven by some very important things, and if he incurred his wrath, of course, he was likely to swear at you, so it's nice to see finally he's buggering off. It's about time, actually. To be fair, he's done a lot of service for a lot of people over many years, and I think he was recognised by that nationally in terms of the award of the OBE, which, to be fair, sometimes we have been known to generally pull his leg about. But I mean, it's a proud achievement for somebody who can be a tenant, be involved in the tenant movement, and become the chair of an organisation the size of Derby Homes.
I think just the national recognition from his many years on many different levels, providing a voice for tenants was absolutely warranted, and credit to him, and he helped put Derby on the map as well for his work. Fully deserved. Feel very proud to have known him, really.
Jenny Osborne, Chief Executive of Tenant Participation Advisory Service. Where to start with a tribute to Dennis Rees? It's not easy because Dennis has had such an impact on TPAS over the years. As a former director and chair, Dennis led TPAS through some very tough days. But Dennis has never wavered from taking tough decisions, always looking to the future for tenants and how TPAS could play a role in improving the world for tenants. For staff here at TPAS, Dennis has been one of our staunchest supporters and one of our most vocal critics, and we have valued him equally for both, because it's Dennis's commitment, integrity and no-nonsense approach that has helped to make us the organisation we are today. Thank you, Dennis, for all you've done for tenants across England, not just in Derby. You are a true one-off, and the TPAS world is a better place for having worked with you.
Well, I think Dennis is so good at being a champion for the customer, in a sense, because he's a customer himself. He is a tenant. He knows what our customers need and want, and he's prepared to fight for that, because on the one hand, Dennis is very approachable, very friendly, but on the other hand, he's a very strong-willed, determined person, which is absolutely excellent in terms of representing what customers need and want.
There was a time where it was rare that a week went by without Dennis appeared in an article in Inside Housing. In fact, there was one particular article I can remember really clearly, with a picture of Dennis emblazoned across the middle pages, the headline, "The most powerful tenant in Britain."
Whilst I think that he's been in a powerful position, I don't think Dennis himself would describe himself like that, because he's not in it for the power. He's in it for sort of making those changes and making sure tenants' views are heard and that they're involved, and it's their rent money that they're paying. They should be influencing the service and saying how they want their money spent.
I go out with him all over the country, and everywhere we go, there's not anybody that, well, not anybody, but there's always somebody or a group of people that know him. He walks in a room, "Hi Dennis, are you alright? Not seen you for a long while." And that's the sort of impression you get of him.
It's certainly true to say at one stage he was the most powerful tenant in the UK.
Melvin Lunn, Vice Chair of the National Federation of Almos. I've been on the board of Burnsley Homes now for 7 years, and first came across Dennis at my first annual conference when he was chair of the NFA. I recognised straight away his passion for ensuring that the tenant's voice was heard wherever and whenever he could. He epitomises the role that tenants play in the governance of Almos, has been a great servant to Derby Homes and the NFA, and I wish him a long and happy retirement.
Well, as far as I think, the only way I could describe Dennis is like an unofficial mentor. You know, on my roles on the city board and the operational board as it became, and the main board, you know, the mentors are available, but I felt that Dennis was always my mentor. I could look towards him, and the good thing about him is he never puts you down. He may say, well, it might work better if you do this, it work that, but you never feel that Dennis has ever put you down. I've never seen him do that to anybody, you know. And to be honest, to use the old-fashioned cliche, what you see is what you get.
To be honest, I'm a bit sorry to see him reduce his contribution. Hopefully he will carry on making his contribution. But at the same time, I think he deservedly needs to perhaps put his feet up and perhaps give himself a bit more time. And we can't ask for any more, in a sense. I think he's given his best.
He's there, his passion is for Derby Homes. He's done a fantastic job. Derby Homes won't be the same without him, but it is where it is now, largely due to what things he's put in over the years.
Dennis is the star man, and he always has been.
Hi Dennis, just want to say thank you for the support you've given for young people in Derby, junior wardens, etc. Without you, I don't know what we would have done. Thank you.
Big thanks, Dennis, from everyone beyond Derby Homes. As I say, without you, I don't think it would have been possible. So, big yourself up.
Cheers.
Thank you, Dennis, from the Elveston Baptist Scout Group. In our hour of need, you came through. Thank you again with all your help.
Helen Jagger, Chair of the NFA Executive Steering Group. Dennis has always been at the vanguard of championing the tenant's voice and ensuring that the voice was not only heard but listened to and acted upon. He was there at the beginning of the Almo sector and lifted our profile at a national level with government. Dennis is a credit to the sector and to Derby Homes, and he should be justly proud of all his achievements.
And the thing that comes across is that Dennis is a well-respected man, and people like him, people know him, his views are valued. You can see how people have a genuine warmth towards him, and that must be reflected by his numerous years of dedication to tenants and through social housing. And if I could achieve a fraction of that, I'd be very happy.
For me personally, I certainly could not have achieved the things that I've achieved with Derby Homes without Dennis and the other volunteers that Dennis has driven on and encouraged and motivated. He is part of Derby Homes, and all I can say, Dennis, is I'm glad it's not goodbye, it's just a move on to something new.
Dennis has been the soul of Derby Homes. He's one of those people that board members come and go, but Dennis you will never replace. So happy retirement, Dennis Rees OBE.